Hey guys, Level Cap here, and today we're going to be taking a look at Days of War, an independent World War II shooter that is on Steam Early Access right now for $24.99. This year really seems like it's shaping up to be the year of the independent World War II shooter. We've got Day of Infamy from the Insurgency developers that's already out on Steam for $19.99, and then we've got Days of War, this title here, which just came out as Early Access, and then we're also going to be seeing later Battalion 1944. So 3 indie titles all competing for essentially the same marketplace, and if you're somebody who's been craving a World War II shooter for a long time, as I'm sure all the developers who made these games are, you might find yourself picking between one of these 3 games, or you may just get them all. I did end up kickstarting this game and Battalion 1944 because I was just really excited to see any sort of new World War II shooters on the market. Now that first level there was Omaha Beach, basically the required D-Day level for any World War II game. It reminds me a lot of Day of Defeat. A lot of these developers remember Day of Defeat, and a lot of old school World War II fans remember Day of Defeat as being one of the more fun World War II multiplayer shooters out there. This game, I feel, borrows a lot from Day of Defeat. In fact, I think it seems like it's just trying to make itself into a better looking Day of Defeat. And in that same vein, it doesn't seem like it's trying to modernize the title too much either. They're keeping a lot of the old school player mechanics, kind of fast, jittery movement. It seems like hit scan, bullet physics, so everything's incredibly fast. It looks like they're trying to design a game that's designed for maybe the esports or the competitive marketplace, which is an interesting way to go. Day of Defeat was designed on the Half-Life engine back in the day, and it had a very specific feeling to it. Counter-Strike and other Half-Life mods all had a very specific feeling of this fast-paced, twitchy gameplay, which kind of became the normal of the time. I would say modern games have kind of updated themselves to have more realistic, maybe slower or sluggish player movement so that character animations can line up appropriately, and it sort of provides you a more realistic context for just the way things look visually, but this game seems like it really is trying to replicate that old school style of play. And I think for some people that could be a really big turnoff to this type of title. If someone out there is looking for something that really makes them feel like they're in an authentic World War II battle, even though it is a video game, just like Battlefield 1 is pretty arcadey, it still does feel like you're in this giant epic scale battle. But just something about the movement in this game takes me out of the element. It feels very floaty. It feels kind of like I'm playing Quake 3 Arena or something like that. Was half expecting to see a jump pad at some point in the game. And just for me, I know it is supposedly more skill-based to have these extremely fast movements and sort of twitchy movements, but when I see another player dancing back and forth or just having very little player acceleration, moving insanely fast around the map, it really does ruin the immersion experience if that's something that you're going for. On the other hand, if you want something that's geared a little bit more towards the high-skill, fast-paced esports environment, but also in a World War II setting, then this game might be perfect for you. I just feel like those two concepts of having sort of an esports game and also a World War II theme are almost at odds with each other nowadays, just because the theme of the game doesn't necessarily lend itself to what you might expect from an esports title. When I think World War II, I don't think fast-paced, twitchy, insanely high-skill curve shooter. I think slower pace, methodical, team strategy, team-oriented shooter, and that's not necessarily what you're going to get with this. Now, as for the rest of the game, it is very, very basic right now. Again, it is an early access game, so there's only 2 game modes at the moment. One that's basically domination, where you capture 5 objectives on a map. They're usually in a linear ordered fashion. And then another one that's more like destroy certain objectives on a map, and there's an attacking and defending side, as you saw on the Omaha Beach level. At the moment, there's only 2 factions, US and Germany, but I believe there will be more in the future. There's several different classes per team. Each class comes with a different primary weapon. Some of the classes are limited in number that you can have on one team. So, for example, you can only have 2 snipers. Snipers are incredibly good in this game. If you notice from my sniper gameplay earlier, I kind of got bored of just owning with the sniper rifle. So at least they're limiting the number of certain classes so that the gameplay doesn't get too out of hand. The damage model in this game is an extremely fast time to kill. Sniper rifles will kill in 1 shot to, I think, anywhere on the body. There's also bolt action rifles with iron sights that that will also kill with one shot anywhere on the body, and then the rest of the automatic weapons kill really quickly. And I think headshots with just about any weapon are also an instant kill. So people go down very, very fast. You should have no problem mowing down a group of 3 people with, say, an assault rifle. Machine guns are extremely lethal as well, but they do take a little bit longer to set up. The map design feels very old school and familiar, linear in nature. So in the domination style game modes, the flags aren't spread out randomly around the map. It's all very, very linear. So there's often a front line of combat. Sometimes the choke points get a little bit too ridiculous. The game sizes are usually about 32 players, and having that stricken down to about 2 choke points makes a lot of stalemate situations. I had a few games where we were just fighting at the exact same point over and over again, so there wasn't a lot of forward and backward progress. And the fact that there's no reviving or no forward spawn systems does make it a bit difficult to gain extra ground at certain points during the game. The maps themselves also feel very static. In the Kickstarter trailer of the campaign, they showed a lot of destruction in the engine, which actually got me really excited for the game because I thought it could be a bit more dynamic. I'm not seeing any of that in the game, so it does feel like we're sort of fighting in a fake world. A lot of the pathing and stuff like that also feels a little bit forced. So you feel like more like you're playing a video game rather than stuck in the middle of a World War II battle. And I know that's harder for indie games to do these days, is to implement an advanced destruction system or even a basic destruction system, because it does take more resources and time. But at the moment, they really don't have anything that I'm aware of. I was prone behind a few pieces of plywood, and a machine gun was just hammering the other side and the bullets wouldn't go through. So I was perfectly fine. Even old school Day of Defeat had different materials with different penetration factors based on the type of round you're shooting at them, and that definitely added to the realism factor. I'm hoping we'll see something like this later in this game. Again, it's an early release game, so anything that we're playing or doing is not necessarily representative of what the final plan or the final product will be. Now, one of the things that the developers are claiming that they will have in the near future is 100-player servers, so you'll have insanely big player battles. The only problem I see with this is that the maps right now are very small. I think there's a few maps that they have planned on coming out that might be a bit bigger, that'll hopefully facilitate 100-player battles. But at the moment, I think it would be an absolute disaster to implement 100-player servers on the maps that they currently have. It would just be a total clusterfuck. So hopefully they have some huge maps planned for those 100-player battles. Now, in its current early access state, the game is insanely basic. Like, there's not much to it. If you're that starved for a World War II shooter, you could certainly pick it up. But in the same regards, I would say that Day of Infamy, which is far more polished right now and also $5 cheaper on Steam, is a much more fun game. It's better all around. The graphics may not be quite as good because it's on the Source engine and not the Unreal engine, but still having better player movement and gun physics in Day of Infamy is a far more enjoyable experience for me all around. Day of Infamy, I think, is trying to make a combat experience that feels more realistic, and I think this one here with the sort of twitchy mechanics to it and the sort of Quake 3/Unreal Tournament player movement just feels weird and out of place. It's probably my biggest hit on the game right now, that and just the oversimplification of the title, and also the fact that it doesn't really seem like it's trying to do anything beyond what Day of Defeat did. So much of this game looks just like Day of Defeat, and unless you see the world through nostalgia goggles, that might not be the biggest turn on for you, as it hasn't really been for me. I liked Day of Defeat just fine back in the day, but now it feels dated to me, and so does this game a little bit. Anyway, I will be staying updated on the progress of this game, and if anything really cool happens with it, I'll be sure to let you guys know. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap, signing off.